Amazing. And we are back, and it's time for us to now have a look at the newspapers. My name is Beatrice Nudi.
And my name is George Gishuru. And we start with the Daily Nation. They go with the headline, Adani-linked Shah hospital system fails. The Safaricom-led consortium has signed up a fourth partner to provide a portal to process claims by private health facilities in a potentially costly deal crafted without taxpayers' knowledge after the original supplier of the software failed to deliver on time. Payroll Limited, initially tasked with providing e-claims portal. It's a story that you can get on page 4 and 5. And patients and hospitals continue to experience various challenges in accessing health services since the transition from the National Health Insurance Fund in October. And following the failure of the health management system, another firm was brought in to plug the hole as the consortium worked on the one it had developed. So you can read that story. It's covered extensively on page 4 and page 5. Then I see Kenyans run into trouble with the police in march against the gender-based violence. Kenyans marching yesterday in the city center to protest against the rising cases of violence against women in the country. But guess what? The peaceful anti-femicide marches were, however, dispersed by police in some parts of the city. The marches happened in several towns across the country. And it's a story also that is covered inside, that is on page 3. Government accused of doing little to stop violence against women and girls. And now the irony of it is that those who are protesting against violence against women and girls were now tear gassed by the same men and women who are supposed to offer security to them as police tear gassed the anti-femicide protesters. Human rights defenders and journalists were among those injured and detained by police officers in Nairobi. Read that story on page 3.
Yes, and on that, actually, I see the same story is covered on the Standard with the headlines. Excuse me. Stop killing our girls and women, protesters demand. So, yes, there was quite something yesterday. Remember, we are still on the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. And in such a time as this, I think this has been the year that we have lost the most women, even to cases of femicide and all that. So you can look at that even in the Standard as well.
All right. You remember this one, Kamlesh Patni. There is a report from Goldenberg scandal to U.S. gold scam watch list. The U.S. and the U.K. have placed sanctions on Kamlesh Patni and 27 other individuals and firms they believe have been running a gold smuggling and money laundering operation out of Zimbabwe. It's a story that you can read on page 10. And then there are fresh details of Ruto-Uhuru truce. President Ruto is expected to mend fences with church leaders, even as the rapprochement with his predecessor is likely to usher in the retired president's men into government. It's a story that you can read on page number 6. Barring the hatchet, behind the scenes, Kosgei was tasked to address complaints by Kenyatta's office. Fresh details of Uhuru Ruto truce. Top businessmen, family members, and religious leaders say to have brokered deal. And you can read that on page number 6. Why Uganda Law Council rejected Karua application, Na Kenya leader had sought a temporary practicing certificate to represent Dr. Besigye at military court. AfriCog says Ruto has dumped hustlers for small circle of cronies. It's a story that is also covered on page number 2. Looking at other stories inside the Daily Nation, it's end of an era as TSC boss Macharia to retire next year. Exiting CEO credited with introducing teacher performance management. TSC boss Nancy Macharia has announced that she will be retiring early next year, ending her 10-year term at the helm. That's another story that you can read there. Then we go to the international news section. They report Putin, we are close to our objectives in Ukraine, as Zelensky says he and Trump discussed ending the war that began in 2022. So you can read that. AU officials call for collective efforts to address hate speech. It's also the story you can read on page 27 as well. The business section, state contracts to women and youth cross 28 billion shillings. Women, the greatest beneficiaries of government tenders in affirmative action. NTSA car register directive opens lead on release dirty play. That is a state directive to car dealers to list all unregistered vehicles at their showrooms and yards by Monday next week has turned the spotlight on how the units left the port of Mombasa without the necessary clearance. It's a story on page 33, which is the business section. And the back page, President tells of livestock vaccination project critics. Head of state says livestock sector can be a major contributor to the country's economy. And that, he says, for clarity, the vaccines will be made in Kenya by Kenyans. This is about creating a sustainable, locally driven solution. And lawmakers want bigger role in treaty negotiations with other countries. I also see on the sports pages, we will be ready to host CHAN. Murkomen assures Kenya faces race against time to meet December 31st deadline set by CAF for venues to be ready. But the sports CS Murkomen Rabishes reports that tournament has been moved. And I see here revealed inside the FKF elections drama, Nokbo's Tergat succession plans take shape. Shabana aims to upset holders Gor Mahia today. That is in the FKF Premier League this afternoon. AFC Leopards will be taking on Tusker again in another fixture this afternoon. But at 4 p.m., Gor Mahia will be taking on Shabana. Talanta versus Mara Sugar as the Leopards take on Tusker at Dandora. Ulinzi Stars will be in Kinoru Meru Stadium to play Bandari. So that is what is being reported in the Daily Nation.
All right, and coming down to the Standard, the top story here is Ruto and Uhuru talks jolt politics. And this is a story that we covered even yesterday, a surprise meeting between President Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta, two bigwigs with a long history together, sends politics into a spin and raises questions on shape of broad-based government, political fate of Mount Kenya, and Azimio's future. This is a story covered on pages 6 and 7. Still on the top page is what we mentioned about the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. The story is covered well in pages 2 and also 3. And on page 3 here, I see Rhoda Wairimo, a violent survivor here, saying, I live each day struggling to regain my independence and sense of self-worth. No one should have to endure such violence and loss. And I believe even for those who are watching and are stuck in relationships, especially the ones that are not even, in a committed relationship, in, like marriage and something like that, and you still find that these women are still stuck in the same relationships. I mean, this is just information that you need to take to heart and walk out with your life. Love is not supposed to hurt, and that is a story that is well covered on pages 2 and 3. But of course, responsibility has to be taken even by the women, and even if you're in a marriage situation, be sure to seek help so that you will be assisted by the right people. And I see page 4 here is on still book sterilization by Mother Karua against the tide. You can look at it, the focus being when the angel of death swooped on us after a homecoming in Busia. This is when Mother Karua survived the plane crash, and you can look at that story well covered on pages pages 4 and 5. And moving on, I see page 800 stare at eviction after influential officials invade land. And page 9 covering uproar over new administrative units as MP takes state to court. Page 10, former KCC staff threatened march to State House over unpaid dues. So rendered jobless in 1997, they want the president to intervene. And they're also claiming the court ordered that they be paid more than 200 million shillings. So they are following up on the same. That's a story covered on page 10. Coming down to the pullouts, the Enterprise this morning is a story on page 4 talking about unconventional ways to cut costs in your business. True cost savings involve foresight, creativity, and a willingness to challenge the status quo. And this is a very, very, very interesting story, and you can look at it. I think this goes in line even with tax avoidance, not tax evasion, but avoidance. How can you, in fact, cut cost in your business? Page 4 is that story covered right there. Coming down to the sports page, the back page here is covering Chan is not going anywhere. CAF assures Kenya, and government is racing against time to beat the set deadline of December 31st. Page 31, Man City seek Champs League comfort to ease EPL pain. Premier League champions face a tricky trip to Juventus today, and Pep Guardiola's side have won just once in their last 9 games. A story covered on page 30 is how history repeated itself as Kenyan MPs win relay gold. So the quartet is now plotting on how they can win the men's 4x400 meter title in Baraki on Friday. The East African Interparliamentary Games are going on in Mombasa as Kenyans eye more medals. And that's it for the Standard.
All right, quickly, the Business Daily. World Bank warns Kenya on secret Adani-type deals. Lender flags risk of waning public confidence.
Yes.
State has been advised to embrace competitive bidding for projects. I also see the IMF has sought to absolve itself of blame in the aggressive push for new taxes through the failed Finance Bill 2024 in Kenya, insisting the revenue measures were designed by the government. Those are the 2 leading lenders to the country, and they are now saying you need to listen to the people. I think that is a plus for Kenyans, that it's not just empty. You know what in as far as civic education is concerned, the push for accountability and transparency, someone somewhere is listening. I also see salaried workers tapped 44.56 billion salary advances from Cooperative Bank in 9 months ended September 2024, deepening their share in the lenders' digital loans. And I also see the number of betting firms licensed to operate in Kenya has doubled to 200 in 3 years, defying a government clampdown on gambling through higher taxes, both on companies and punters. I also see a quote here by Nderito Mureithi. He says, if the CBK governor wants the lending rates to come down, he should introduce competition in the securities market. It's a story that you can read on page 9.
All right, beautiful. And that's it for the newspaper. Hey, jamani.
Karibu iende.
Karibu ianguke nayo. Oh my goodness.
Karibu.
I could not hold my laughter. But anyway, thank you so much. Hawakuona. It's just me who saw.
Just you.
Anyway.
So they're wondering, why is she laughing after the newspaper review?
Let me
Don't explain. We need to go for a break.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's look at the video of the day.
Aya, I'm not go TV stream. It's free.
GoTV Stream iko mkononi na ni free. Download GoTV Stream app for free. Uenjoy live TV na shows kamia nane. Download and watch later anytime, anywhere. GoTV Stream iko mkononi na ni free. Available to active subscribers. GoTV, love it.
shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in Him will I trust. Surely He shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the perilous pestilence. He shall cover you with feathers, and under His wings shall you take refuge. Oh, He shall cover you with feathers, and under His wings shall you take refuge. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that walks in the darkness, nor of destruction that lays waste at noonday. 1,000 may fall at thy side and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come near you. With your eyes shall you look and see the reward of the wicked, because you have made the Lord, who is my refuge, even the Most High, your dwelling place. No evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near your dwelling. For He shall give His angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways. In their hands they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. You shall tread upon the lion and the cobra. The young lion and the serpent you shall trample underfoot. Because He has set His love upon me, therefore I will deliver him. I will set him on high, because he has known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. Surely He shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the perilous pestilence. He shall cover you with feathers, and under His wings shall you take refuge. Oh, He shall cover you with feathers, and under His wings shall you take refuge. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that walks in the darkness, nor of destruction that lays waste at noon. shall not come near you.
Join John Carson every weekday as he takes us on a journey through the Bible.
Whoever shall seek to save his life, if you go back to living for yourself, you're going to lose it. But whoever shall lose his life, give up his life for my sake, he shall preserve it.
Enjoy interesting, knowledge-packed, yet simple teachings through his humor and in-depth understanding of God's Word.
The last people that tried to put God in a box, literally, he rose again. He wouldn't stay in their compartment. If God was small enough for me to figure out, he wouldn't be big enough for me to worship.
Tune in to Hope TV for John Carson every 10 p.m., 4 a.m., and 10 a.m. weekdays on Hope TV, where you look and live.
Powerful song right there, Psalms 91. We can never get enough of that song. And I believe that the very first verse is the most important of all. You know, it's calling us to something profound, and that is dwelling in that secret place of the Most High. Because when we do that, then we are able to abide under the shadow of the Almighty. And that means that as we stay in line with God, as we practice the presence of God, as we continue to abide, then indeed we shall see our lives bearing fruit, and the protection, the covering of God will be upon us. Jesus said, without me, you can do nothing. So where exactly are you? Because if you're not covered with this shadow of the wing of God, then it's just going to be possible and very easy for the enemy to come in and try to just play tricks on you. But when you're dwelling where God is, then you can be sure that there is a covering that is going to be on you that you can never explain. And I think that's why we're going to be discussing today about intimacy with God. Because
that's the conversation we'll be having in the next hour. That is the Christian Walk segment, and we will be having Pastor Selah Waithera. She is the the youth pastor at Nairobi Chapel, and she will be joining us to help us in today's conversation. How do we cultivate even that intimacy with God? What is that? When we talk of intimacy with God, what do we actually mean?
Do we mean?
So we will be having Pastor Waithera join us on set in the next hour to help us with that conversation. You also can be part of this same conversation. What your definition of intimacy with God, how you have been able to cultivate the same in your own personal walk with the Lord. Hope TV Kenya across all our social media platforms, and also you can get us on our WhatsApp platform that is 0708 222 323. Right about now, we take a short break, and then once we are back, we take over with Pastor Waithera with the day's conversation.
Awesome.
Rafiki soul is the promise of a hand that reaches and goes beyond what angaza tumaini kote. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru ukarimu. Rafiki soul is a promise of a hand that reaches and goes beyond watangaza tumaini kote. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. Rafiki msoul.
Friends of Hope, keeping hope alive.
Welcome to the world of Hope Media, a media unit of Christ is the Answer Ministries that is committed to spreading the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ through the transformative power of media. Hope Media is dedicated to utilizing various forms of media to spread the message of hope, love, and redemption to all people around the world.